war. War never changes. After decades of competing for dwindling resources throughout the 20th and 21st centuries, the United States government commissioned Vault Tech to build 122 vaults across their nation, under the pretense of sheltering segments of the population in case of nuclear war. However, in working with the Enclave, a conspiracy of deep state government officials, only 17 vaults acted normally as controls, while the other 105 conducted social, physical, and psychological experiments to learn the limits of human endurance and obedience to authority, which would help them rebuild civilization, either by conquering the wasteland or possibly leaving Earth on a generational starship to colonize another world. To secure his life, the President of the United States retreated to a Poseidon Company oil rig off the coast of California, specifically prepared by the Enclave to survive the apocalypse. These preparations proved wise, as the end came on October 23, 2077, when the nations of the world launched their nuclear weapons, beginning and ending the Great War in a matter of hours, resulting in the destruction of human civilization and the death of billions. Throughout the next few years, many Vault residents were subjected to various forms of experimentation, like in Vault 15, located in California, where they purposefully gathered people of diverse cultures and ideological positions, who eventually formed competing factions that by 2097 were on the brink of catastrophic violence. To avoid destroying themselves, Vault 15 opened their door, with those who departed forming the Vipers, Khans, and Jackals Raider gangs, while those more interested in peace used their Vault's Garden of Eden creation kit terraforming device to found the settlement of Shady Sands. Years later, from 2161 to 2163, the fate of Shady Sands changed forever when the legendary Vault Dweller departed Vault 13 to find a replacement water chip for their purification system. As he marched through the wasteland, he reached the small settlement of Shady Sands, where he earned the trust of Aradesh and his daughter Tandi, two prominent citizens who gave him information to continue his mission. Sometime later, the Vault Dweller discovered the Khans kidnapped Tandi, and so he slaughtered the gang and rescued the girl, becoming a hero for the people of Shady Sands, who no longer had to fear these troublesome raiders. However, Darian, son to the Khans' leader Garl Deathhand, survived the encounter and went on to found the new Khans, vowing vengeance against those that killed his father. Continuing on their adventure, the Vault Dweller eventually found a water chip and destroyed the rampaging super mutants known as the Unity Army, along with their leader, the Master. Returning home in triumph, the Overseer was grateful, but would not allow re-entry to Vault 13, claiming their adventures might inspire others to leave the vault. Heartbroken, the Vault Dweller left and founded the village of Arroyo. With the largest raider threat eliminated, Shady Sands grew and prospered under the leadership of Aradesh and Tandi, who expanded their trade routes, which allowed for meaningful cultural exchanges that formed strong, amicable relations with their neighbors. Eventually, Aradesh and Tandi floated the idea of unification and the formation of a nation-state, which rapidly gained support in Shady Sands and the surrounding regions. In 2186, a preliminary New California Republic was founded, forming a trial government to draft a constitution, and by 2189, they officially voted to create a federation of 5 states that included Shady Sands, Los Angeles, Maxon, The Hub, and Dayglow, in addition to allying with the followers of the Apocalypse from the Boneyard, a non-violent faction dedicated to knowledge and healing, which eventually opened a university. The NCR also established friendly relations with the Brotherhood of Steel, a militaristic faction dedicated to the preservation of technology, and while the Brotherhood did not formally join the NCR, the government named a state after the organization's founder, Roger Maxson, and hosted one of their outposts in the capital of Shady Sands. Founded primarily by Aradesh and Tandi, the New California Republic reflected the pre-war democratic values of a free society, creating a stable economy largely based around Brahmin herds and agriculture, with NCR dollars as currency, provided health care, enforced laws, elected their government, and prohibited discrimination based on gender, ethnicity, sexuality, or peaceful religious beliefs. They also banned slavery, except for prison labor, banned the open carry of firearms within city limits, though they allowed concealed carry, banned public drunkenness and drug use alongside gambling and prostitution within city limits. As they spread across the West, they created immigration laws that allowed anyone settling in their territory to apply for citizenship on the condition they undergo citizenship training and agree to pay taxes. Outside territories could also apply for annexation into the NCR. The government itself was composed of 3 branches, with the executive branch consisting of a leadership council headed by the president and vice president, which had no term limits but faced re-election every 5 years. The legislative branch consisted of regional representatives elected by the citizenry, originally called the NCR Congress, which later became the Senate, responsible for passing laws, investigating large-scale criminality, advising the government, and electing the president, vice president, and leadership council. Then there was the judicial branch, composed of courts and judges, who ruled in accordance with NCR laws. Serving as president until his death in 2196, Aradesh was succeeded by his daughter Tandi, widely regarded as the best leader in their history, becoming so popular, she won every re-election and remained in power for the rest of her life. Under President Tandi, the NCR greatly expanded their influence, while upholding the values upon which they were founded, becoming a prime example of a successful, ethical, and just society where citizens could expect a reasonably higher standard of living than those outside their borders. Among her many accomplishments, she enacted a separation of church and state, granted legal rights to ghouls and mutants in 2205, and passed regulations that limited how many Brahmin and acres of land could be owned by individual citizens, preventing the wealthy from monopolizing these resources and maximizing their profits at the expense of everyone else. Yet after the death of President Tandi, the NCR underwent significant cultural changes, as the subsequent leaders Joanna Tibbet, Wendell Peterson, and Aaron Kimball oversaw the steady decline of their nation by loosening regulations, which widened the gap between rich and poor, while becoming increasingly militaristic, authoritarian, and corrupt. In addition to a trend of growing discrimination against supermutants, society shifted from a communal atmosphere where people worked for the benefit of all, often providing services for free, to individual profiteering, where every action was motivated by money. Since much of the West was picked clean of old world resources, scavenging became less lucrative, and the chance to start your own business much harder, forcing many to work for large companies in mills, farms, and factories, causing the citizenry to believe the NCR was no longer a land of opportunity, and that migration to the dangerous eastern frontier may provide greater possibilities. Eventually growing to a population of 700,000, the NCR started to clash with other factions in and around their borders, like when Darian's new Khans at last sought vengeance by kidnapping wastelanders and raiding NCR caravans. Yet similar to how his father met his fate, it was the grandchild of the Vault Dweller, known as the Chosen One, who, while on a mission to acquire a Gek, found the new Khans and killed their leader, though some remnants of the gang survived to form the Great Khans. Upon completing their mission, the Chosen One returned to the village of Arroyo, only to discover it was destroyed by the Enclave, and so they journeyed to the Poseidon oil rig, where they saved the Arroyo captives, killed the president, stopped the Enclave's plans of genocide, destroyed the oil rig, and used the Gek to found New Arroyo under their leadership. The remnants of the Enclave then fled to Navarro, where they were considered a threat by the government, resulting in the NCR-Enclave War of the late 2240s, in which the NCR wiped out Enclave forces in the sacking of Navarro. Meanwhile, hostilities started to grow between the Brotherhood and NCR over the control of advanced technologies, until the outbreak of war in the 2150s. And while the Brotherhood had better weapons, armor, and training, leading to a number of early victories, the NCR was far larger with a stronger industrial base, allowing them to emerge victorious in this first stage of the war, destroying at least 6 enemy bunkers, though 4 were destroyed by the Brotherhood themselves to prevent their capture. Although the Lost Hills remained a highly fortified Brotherhood position, in 2276, the NCR performed Operation Sunburst, attacking the Mojave branch operating out of the Helios 1 factory, eliminating over half the chapter before they retreated to the Hidden Valley. Despite seeming to win the war, the NCR lost a great deal of men, materials, and gold reserves to Brotherhood raids, which destroyed the value of gold-backed NCR dollars, forcing the government to create a fiat currency backed only by their guarantee. Unable to trust this currency, many switched back to the bottle cap system prevalent across the wasteland. As all this occurred, the NCR faced another crisis in 2253 when 38 of their citizens were massacred by Mojave raiders. Unhappy with the government's response, President Tibbet was removed from office by a vote of no confidence and replaced by Wendell Peterson, who sent 3 battalions to begin the Mojave Campaign, also known as the Pacification of the Mojave, completing their work by 2270 thanks to the brutal tactics and merciless victories of General Aaron Kimball, who gained fame and earned the nickname Hero of the Mojave. A year later in 2271, the Mojave Desert Rangers signed the Ranger Unification Treaty, agreeing to join the NCR Rangers in exchange for their pledge to protect Nevada from the growing threat of Caesar's Legion, a Roman-style army of brutal slavers, with a large empire in the east steadily marching west. Though he served 4 terms, President Wendell Peterson was removed from office in 2273 and replaced by the ever-popular Aaron Kimball, who went on to rapidly accelerate the nation's deterioration as he imposed further militarism and deregulation, allowing for the rise of Brahmin and agriculture barons that monopolized resources and hoarded their wealth at the expense of the population. He also began a years-long campaign to forcibly annex the Mojave as the NCR's 6th official state, broke off relations with the followers of the Apocalypse in 2275 to instead ally with the Office of Science and Industry, a followers' splinter faction which focused on the practical applications of science and encouraged the promotion of men over women, believing strong male leadership was necessary for their prosperity. His leadership proved so poor that some predicted their nation would face famine by 2291 unless food production increased. In the east, the wealthy genius Robert House, who survived the long years since the Great War with a life support system while connecting his mind to a supercomputer, feared NCR expansion meant the annexation of New Vegas, and so he allied with the chairmen, Omertas, and White Glove Society tribes to defend their territory and expand their influence. Ultimately, Mr. House succeeded by negotiating the Treaty of New Vegas, giving Hoover Dam and McCarran Airport to the NCR in exchange for 5% of the dam's energy output and the continued independence of New Vegas. A popular tourist destination for citizens of the NCR, New Vegas thrived under Mr. House and the 3 families, but trouble at last found them in 2277 when Caesar's Legion attacked in the First Battle of Hoover Dam, seeming to win the initial confrontation until lured into a trap where their forces were wiped out by pre-prepared explosives in Boulder City, securing victory for the NCR. In addition to all these large-scale conflicts, the NCR also faced small-scale trouble against raider gangs, with 4 NCR troopers killed by the Great Khans of Bitter Springs in 2278. In response, President Kimball sent a poorly planned retaliation force with bad intelligence, resulting in the Bitter Springs Massacre, in which they not only slaughtered the Great Khans, but also their elderly, women, and children, forcing survivors to flee and settle Red Rock Canyon. After just a few years in office, President Kimball rapidly lost popular support, largely because his Mojave campaign was taking too long, vastly depleted their resources, cost many lives, and proved increasingly difficult to support logistically. Over in New Vegas, Mr. House frantically searched for the platinum chip created 2 centuries earlier to upgrade his defense grid, but was lost during the Great War. Upon finding it, he hired the Mojave Express for its delivery, only for the courier to be captured, robbed, and shot by Benny of the Chairman Gang, who planned to usurp control of New Vegas. Yet the courier survived and embarked upon a legendary adventure in which he found Benny, recovered the platinum chip, and ultimately decided the fate of New Vegas during the Second Battle of Hoover Dam by allying with the NCR, Caesar's Legion, Mr. House, or no one to ensure the city's independence. Yet in the end, the true fall of the NCR came not from the Mojave campaign, but from a vengeful Vault-Tec executive who sought to eliminate a potential competitor on the surface and get back at his wife, Rose, who left him and settled in Shady Sands, arranging for a nuclear bomb to destroy the NCR capital in 2283, severely weakening their nation. Taking advantage of this weakness, the Brotherhood re-emerged to continue their war against the NCR, capturing a number of enemy territories including San Fernando, Yosemite, and Coronado. Over a decade later, in 2296, an NCR faction leader, Lee Moldaver, hired raiders to infiltrate and attack Vault 33, while she captured their overseer, Hank McClain, the Vault-Tec executive responsible for the destruction of Shady Sands, as she needed his password to activate a cold fusion device to provide limitless power to the wasteland. With the help of Hank's daughter Lucy McClain, Moldaver got the code, yet just as she realized her dream of limitless power, the Brotherhood of Steel arrived in force, engaging in the Battle of the Griffith Observatory to wipe out NCR forces, kill their leader, and steal cold fusion. Throughout the chaos of battle, Hank McClain stole power armor and fled to New Vegas, with Lucy McClain and her ghoul companion in pursuit. Sometime later, the Brotherhood Squire Maximus awoke to find Moldaver activating the cold fusion reactor before she died, and was then found by his comrades who assumed he killed the enemy leader and hailed him a hero. A special thanks to all those who contribute to CivilizationEx, like Sir Elendil of Numenor, Sir Loin, Werebear of the Great North, Sir Willem the Dawn Treader, and Average Soul the Healer. If you'd like to help the channel, be sure to give a like, leave a comment, subscribe, and click on the links below, or else go to patreon.com/CivilizationEx, where you can gain early access to videos and watch the Patreon-only series, Heroes of Lore and Legend.